Welcome back to your Saturday of the OPL for this round 10. My name is Michael Hingising, and joining me here at the analyst desk we have T-Gun and also Mendrix. And hey, there's been some great tweets coming on hashtag IamOPL, so tweet us your fire so we can put it up here on broadcast. If you want to roast the goon, get involved. And speaking of social media, we are currently running a social competition that I think might be of interest to you at home. If you're into beards, this is for you. If you're not into beards, take a break for 30 seconds. Because on Facebook right now, you can draw a beard on your favorite shoutcaster, analyst, or host. Post it in the comments of the contest, and you could win a keyboard and mouse pack. Courtesy of the Lenovo. But if you're not on Facebook, if you're just on Twitter, you can get involved and do it via Twitter as well, at OPL. And obviously, my illustrious beard does not need to be redone. So if you want to Photoshop anyone, probably have a crack at Fish, babyface Fish. T-Gun, have you ever grown a beard?
I tried. It didn't go well, and then I stopped.
Are you a hairy man elsewhere? Like, how's the body hair going? Because I'm bald from like the neck down.
I'm gonna go ahead and plead the fifth here and not answer that question.
Yeah, it's fine. Mendrix, for you, I don't know if you've got a favorite type of moustache or beard combo. Mine, I'll tell you, is in Turkey. They have these like facial hair competitions. Feel free to Google this at home. They are amazing. It's like out here. Here's a tip, actually. What you should do is, right, you should go Google it, get some of that, put that on this. I don't get to judge it, but anyway, Mendrix, favorite facial hair.
Where did this Turkish like come from?
No, it's not. No, it's a thing that happens in Turkey.
Okay.
Look up Turkish facial hair competitions. It's like a worldwide thing.
We're not disputing that. We're asking, how did you stumble across this?
I'm an enthusiast for former Ottoman Empire facial hair competitions. Now, Mendrix, favorite facial hair. Name a celebrity.
Name celebrity? Oh, Gerard Butler. Yeah, Gerard Butler's good.
Gerard Butler? I don't even
Who's
know.
Gerard Butler?
Gerard Butler.
Moving along, because I don't know who that is. Let's get into our second game of today, which is... Sorry, it's Avant Garde versus Sin. And don't look at me like that. I don't know who he is. Whatever. Tiga, tell me about AV. They've recently brought in Sybil as their jungler, and I guess we're trying to say that he's settling in, but AV's results have not been as positive this side of the split as they were at the top.
Yeah, like some men on fire. They've been running away from victory.
Is that a Gerard Butler film?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It seems like he's settled in well, but they just... I don't know what's going on. The lanes that used to win just aren't winning. It might actually just be team communication issues. That's very possible. Even though Sybil does look like he's doing well, he might just not be meshing quite well enough. They might not play around him well enough. He might not play like Shelby. It's hard to say looking from the outside in, but it seems like they went from winning specific lanes to losing specific lanes with very little change.
Yeah, I agree with that there, because the big thing is Sybil, he does need to have some lane pressure in order to make something happen. And if he's not able to get that, he loses out on some options. He's not able to go for invades that he'd like to go for. And we see him doing it towards that early game. We see him actually trying to make those moves, but if his lanes are losing, he's not going to be able to in the longer run towards that mid and late game.
Well, speaking of Avant Garde, earlier today I spoke to their team captain and support player Jake, and I started by asking him about how last time they beat Sin and if they could do it again this time.
Well, yeah, we've got Sybil now in replacement of Chelby, and they've got Ryoma for Wizard. I think they're both upgrades for both teams, so it'll be interesting to see how that pans out.
You say interesting, but I didn't hear you say, like, no, we're going to smash them this time as well.
Oh, well, so rough one. We're going to be playing them again next week in the Gauntlet first week. So I'll be interested to see how both the teams draft and play out their gameplay, because I don't think either team really wants to show much.
So you're going to be just trying to learn and trying to like, and at the same time try and hide your picks and bans in your playstyle as well.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, we still want to win, but we're definitely scouting for next week as well.
Tell me about the mind games then. So does that mean like, would it go as far as to play stuff that you would think that they would think you wouldn't play, so that then they would prepare for that in the... Do you know what I mean? Like, how deep does this go?
Maybe we'll just play what we're going to play next week. And
maybe not, though. Who knows? Who knows?
Are we going to play?
Awesome. Well, best of luck in the game.
Cheers.
Thank you for speaking to us.
Cheers.
We have team captain of Avant Garde, Jake, there, support player. Kimmy's card's very close to his chest. Let's take a look at their lineup. For AV, their top laner is Series. Let's see if he's wearing those wrist straps again this week. Their jungler is Sybil, settling in to his new team, coming across on the Direwolves. Triple is their mid laner, the young mid laner himself. Blinky is their AD carry, who's kind of been up and down a bit this split. Recently he's been struggling, but let's see if he's picking it up this week. And finally, Jake is their support player. I feel like he's been through a lot this split. And as a support player, Tegan, I'm sure that you can relate.
I can relate to losing a bunch, yeah.
That wasn't what I was saying, but feel free to roast yourself at any point. Mendrix, this AV team, I mean, we put a lot of pressure on them coming into this, right? But a lot of them are rookies.
Yeah, it does come down to these guys were hot off the press immediately when they did starting very strong. Now they seem to be getting a bit shaky after their first real tests and up against those teams, the Direwolves, the Chiefs, the Legacies. And it does come to, again, a bit of rookie watch, as you were mentioning, because now this is when the pressure's starting to turn up. This is the first time they really are going to finals of this new gauntlet. And maybe the jitters are starting to get to them.
Would you say, as a former OCS caster, you were a little enthralled by Blinky coming from there?
Still a current OCS caster. so
You were also still a former OCS caster.
So Blinky did perform well in the OCS, and he also did have a lot of help with Cupcake at that point in time. And I guess you could say there was a lot of hype with him coming on, so there was a bit of extra pressure put onto him. But the thing is that he was a shining light as well at the start, and I was really excited when I saw that. But it does hit that point when everyone else is starting to turn it up a notch. And again, he's still the rookie. Too much pressure might have been put on him.
Yeah, maybe the expectations were just a little high because he performed so well in the OCS. People expected that to just sort of transfer over and he would perform amazingly in a higher tier competition. And it just seems like he does show those just little bits of brilliance, but it's not consistent enough for him to be, heralded like King is, like Raze is, like Lost is.
It's kind of interesting talking about these rookies coming into this split because they're going into a game today that they're going to rematch next week in Finals Gauntlet. So like we were talking about, there are a lot of mind games, and that's where kind of veteran status would really help out because you've been through these situations before. Well, earlier today when I spoke to Juves, the captain of Sin, I started our conversation by asking him about these mind games and how they're going to play out today.
I think we have a little bit more leeway to do what we want because we need to win one game. So if we do pick up one game, we secure 4th place. And maybe we can try things out, see what will work on stage and what doesn't. We can kind of treat it like practice. Obviously, we want to win because I think losing is never fun, as I said before. But so we pretty much need to win one game, and then I guess we don't really have to show anything.
All right. Well, you say not only is losing not fun, you've said before winning is a habit. And you want to get into the habit before you head into Gauntlet. Yeah. So today, I mean, what will it mean for you guys to win?
It will just be another feather in the cap, really. I don't look into things I don't really look into it as in who we've beaten. It's just that if we win, did we play well? I think the opponent sometimes is irrelevant. A lot of people get fixated on their opponent. We just try to focus on when we win, and if we win, how we play. If we play to our ability, I don't think there's many teams that can contest us apart from Direwolves Chiefs. But so I think we just focus on us, and a win's a win. It doesn't matter who it's against.
Excellent stuff. Well, best of luck in the game, and thank you for speaking to us.
Thanks.
And we have Juves there saying there's not many teams who can test us at our best, except for Direwolves and Chiefs. Obviously, he leaves out Legacy there because he's beaten them twice this split already. Let's take a look at this lineup. Their top laner is Flares, the North American import. Their jungler is Juves, who we just spoke to, having a bit of a song there, I think. He's singing. Their mid laner, Roma, new to the team, absolutely been popping off the last couple of weeks. Let's see if he can continue that form. FBI is their young mechanical AD carry, and Rogue is their support player, who I've spoken to recently. Loves a Red Bull. Loves a Red Bull. He was jittery when I interviewed him last time. Anyway, sorry. Mendrix, this team on fire. Did you say?
Yeah, absolutely. And it seems to come down to the idea of, well, it's the complete opposite of AV. These guys started a little bit shaky in comparison. They ended up dropping the games, actually dropped the games against AV as well. And now this time around, they found form, doing well against the Chiefs when they did go up against them. And then taking a 2-0 against Legacy. So really is a bit of a reversal, and it is like they said, they want that winning mentality.
Yeah. As much as it pains me to compliment the Sin team, they've done really well recently. They've just turned up a notch. I don't know what they've done, how they've done it, but they went from, at least last season, being a pretty shaky team to this season looking really unstoppable. Whenever they get any sort of advantage, they just compound it again and again, snowball to victory very quickly. When everyone outside loves to joke about Sin ARAM and how they're really chaotic, but there's no way what they're doing isn't very controlled from their end.
And what I like with the changes that they've made is they've still kept that same tempo, but it's now more controlled, it's more focused, and you can see it with the performances coming through.
Yeah, well, when we talk about Sin, though, right, they did lose last time we played against AV. So we go like, oh, they're great and stuff. But last time they played, AV won, right?
When was that?
It was at the start of the split. But you got to think that there are intrinsic things to each team, right? I know, for example, certain casters, not myself, but certain casters have tipped AV because they just said, look, the way AV plays, they're going to outplay Sin, right? That's what's going to happen. You can, I don't know if you could pick that up. That was Jake Spontaberia just cheering then because he's picked him, right? And he thinks that it's because the way AV plays just beats the way Sin plays.
I'm going to go ahead and herald a guess that the OPL tipping competition might have swayed his vote just a little bit. Just a little bit.
He's trying to catch me. He's trying to get up those points.
But what he says has a lot of merit.
Right.
Playstyle is very, very important for each team, how they play against each team, how it works. But that being said, I don't think that AV have such a great style that they're going to end up just destroying Sin because of it. I think that they might play well against them, but Sin, especially recently, you want to go back and say that they lost, 7 years ago, have looked a lot better.
Well, let's talk about this playstyle because, Mendrix, I'm keen to get your thoughts on this because Sirius and Blinky came into this split very hyped up, and it's not often that it's a top and 80 carry that are the quote-unquote carries on a team in separate places, right? You know what I mean? This is not a synergy you see a lot of. Top and 80 carry. But when you look at these guys, how does AV's playstyle utilize both of these guys?
So typically at the start of the split, these guys did like to go towards that late game, were a bit slow in that mid game, then did go for those more scaling champions. And Series, he was someone who typically was playing carries at the start, like to get himself a Gangplank, like to get himself the Fury, if something if he could get his hands on it. Now he's sort of shifted towards those tanks, has played Rumble recently, so that's something that is sort of beginning to come back in the meta, is played a little bit in North America. And really, when you look at their stats, you can see, they are very focused on making sure they get their CS. There's good kill participation from Blinky, and Series is just sitting there on the mark of that average top laner when it comes to his kill participation.
I think the amount that Sirius was hyped up early on in the season might have got to him a little bit. Keep in mind, I think he's a very good top laner. He's proved his worth, and I was really skeptical of him coming into this season, but he was heralded as the next #1 top laner in the OPL. He was heralded as he was going to just destroy Swiper when they played, to the point that they made a really, really wonderful YouTube video detailing series list. And that might have hindered him. Because, when you get this much pressure put on you, especially for a new player, something has got to happen. And either you're going to rise above it and become incredible because of it, or it's going to hurt you in some sort of way.
Well, speaking of rookies who have a lot of pressure on them, Ryoma has joined Sin a couple of weeks ago, and he's been absolutely popping off. So I want to take a look at him and FBI, because FBI is also new to the OPL this split. And Mendrix, looking at these guys, I mean, what in particular stands out to you? For me, it's Ryoma just being everywhere.
Well, the big thing about it is with, like you said, with Ryoma, he's also got a decent kill participation under his belt, and FBI's got a really big one as well. So these guys are actually being very involved with their team, and it does come to these guys, originally having that ARAM style, and also comes down to these guys being really quick with their tempo, really good with their skirmishes, and so everyone gets involved, everyone gets their kills up there. And it seems to be working out for Sin at the moment. That fast tempo really does put most teams or most opponents off guard.
Yeah, I would like to say that FBI is probably, and keep in mind he's a very good player and people think he's very good, quite underrated. People don't mention him when they think about the best ADCs. They just think of that holy trio of Lost King Raze. But he is the most consistent, just well-performing standard member I've ever seen, and he doesn't get a lot of praise. That being said, I want to talk a bit more about Ryoma, because when he came onto Sin, I was probably one of the bigger detractors. I think if I remember what I said correctly, I said they replaced their best player with someone who has a lot to live up to, and he's done just that. He's turned into a complete menace for this team. He's shown a lot of champion styles as well. He plays a lot of those team fighting champions that they play, but he's also picked up Zed recently.
Yeah.
And when you play champions with that much difference, you allow your team to play multiple styles.
Well, yeah, I feel like that's because one of the reasons he has been popping off is because they do often play towards their mid lane. But moving forward, let's take a look at your tips, opltips.com.au. And it's a spicy affair between these two teams. Probably an equal fan base. I think Sin is coming out on top by the slightest of margins, and most people, by some margin, are saying that it is going to be a 2-1 whatever. It's a hotly contested all around. Not me, though. I'm going to lead this one off. This is a 2-0 to Sin. I'm saying it right now. Thoughts?
Aren't you meant to be unbiased?
I am, but sometimes I'll step outside my bounds, and I'll vote with my feet. That's what I tipped.
That was voting with your mouth.
Sure. Feet, mouth, foot in, mouth. Tegan, let me know your tips. Let's move on.
I'm going to vote with my heart and go with AV 2-0. I'm with a pretty big minority given by the stats, but I'm closer with the AV boys, and I just want to see them take this and get that side selection.
No, you got to... friendships don't matter. You got to cut your ties. Mendrix?
I feel like you were stalling a little bit there before you decided to make your decision. So
Speaking of stalling, let's go. Come on.
all right. 2-1 to Sin. I'd say 2-1 to Sin, Sin Gaming. I really think that these guys are actually are on fire, like you said before, and they can take the win.
All right, well, I'm the only one who's a true believer. 2-0 to Sin. Let's see what your casters think, because it's time to throw it across to them. It's Spawn and Fish.
Bloody hell, you take the auto prompter away from Hingis one day and he has to use these cards and he just pops off. I have no idea what he's doing right there. Could see the corner of my eye and nailed him in the face, which was great. But I'm Matthew Fish Stewart. Joining me again is Jake Spawn Tabiru, about to go into the second match of the day. And this is absolutely right, Spawn. I believe you've tipped AV here just so you have that glimmer of hope that you won't have to cosplay.
That's exactly right. But there is some logic to this madness, because I think that Sin play a very quick-paced style, and if AV ever slow that and get towards team fighting, they have shown time and time again that they are amongst the elite team fighters in the OPL. I think that if you can do it against a team, it's going to be Sin. In saying that, Sin's early game has definitely ramped up since the last time these two teams faced off. And we have to remember that this is a gauntlet preview. So they are going to want to give away nothing. Winning it means a lot, especially psychologically, but you don't want to show your full hand just yet.
No, you definitely don't. On top of that, there is some kind of rivalry between these two teams, because the last time they faced off, I believe it was Juves called AV Abyss Light after their victory against Abyss the week before. And Avant caught them by surprise, most definitely.
Jake bopped him for that. I mean, that is very fair to say. Both Melbourne boys looking for a spot in my League of Origin team. Of course, Jake and Juves. Sitting on the cusp right now, you are, Juves. If you pop off today, I will take a serious look at you. However, it's going to be interesting, because both of these guys are very vocal on Summoner's Rift as captains of their team, and they get their team pretty fired up before games. So interested to see whether, you know, they've really talked about how much this does mean for each organization.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, they're both fighting. This is basically a preview. This Best of 3 series is a preview of the first gauntlet match we are going to have in the OPL finals.
And you want to play well, because you know that you're running into Chiefs or Legacy really on in that gauntlet. And
potentially
if
both.
you're Sin, yeah, exactly. Potentially both if you get through the first lot. And especially if you're Sin, you are such a good team coming in with momentum. The last thing you want is that momentum to be broken by a team that you feel like right now you have a better control on how the game is going to be played. So I think that this game, especially for Sin, means the world.
That's their exact mindset coming into this match, and the bans have already gone through for both teams. Thresh, Camille, Malzahar banned out by Avant. Sin, they're going to take away Nautilus, Jace, and Syndra. And the first pick for AV is going to be Karma, nice and early.
That's actually one of the weirdest pick ban phases I've seen in a long time. No Lulu banned away. Jake and Rogue both are pretty adequate Lulu players. Vladimir for Ryoma is still available, which we've seen have great effectiveness. Triple obviously comfortable in that matchup.
Rengar still up and available as well.
Graves, Lee Sin, Elise, like all the junglers are still there. They have legitimately left the world open.
What?
This is how you see what teams want to prioritize, by the way. Just ban really niche, weird picks, and I guarantee that they're going to take things that they want to play.
Yeah, so Nami and Elise are the first two picks coming out from Sin. No Lulu, no Rengar.
Makes sense. I mean, all of a sudden, when you have a look at this, potentially going to be a high priority placed on Lucian for both teams, especially Lucian Nami is a great lane. We talk about it a lot, but Tycaller's Blessing with the E is very hard to deal with. Oof.
And we're going to get the Rengar being picked up here for Sybil. Heading to the jungle against Juves. Let's see what their next pick is going to be here.
I expect it to be AD carry. I expect them to leave both solo lanes up. Obviously, Flares and Ryoma are two linchpins for the team. Flares from his split pushing and his great tank play. Ryoma just for his team fight and also the ability to pick assassins. So, yeah, that doesn't surprise me at all. And I expect this also to be an AD carry. Just given the fact that, you know, sure, Tommy could lock in something like a Vladimir, something like a Zed that he has very high priority on, and then start banning away mid laners, but that's a risky prospect.
And if they pick up Caitlyn here, which they do, it's Caitlyn Nami into Karma Lucian.
Both really annoying lanes, to be honest.
An extra range coming out of FBI could be what makes or breaks this lane against Blinky and Jake, the Bash Bros in the bottom lane.
See whether we get a Rumble ban here. because Series likes to play it, as does Flares.
We do get a Vladimir ban towards Ryoma and a Shen ban targeted at Series, thanks to the Rengar pickup by Avant Garde.
Yeah, definitely. See whether Oriana's going to follow. Triple's a good Oriana player. Or whether Ryoma just wants to pick that up. It wouldn't be surprising to see if they gave Flares the last pick.
And they take away
Especially-
Poppy.
Yeah, Gragas is the last true tank remaining in the top lane. We actually saw triple Doran's ring Q-Max Gragas out of ADD in the LCK, which is, you know, with current mana restraints, very hard to max Q on Gragas, but ADD made it work and actually had a really good laning phase.
Yep, the Triple Doran's ring, aka the budget Rod of Ages. Very, very old pickup in League of Legends. And the final ban coming out from Avant Garde is going to be Renekton. So bending that one out towards Flares. That does leave Rumble up.
Yeah, Rumble's really strong at the moment. It makes a lot of sense. Series is nodding his head. I wonder if he's got something in store for it. Something like a Kled.
Potentially.
I'm trying to think of, like, what else can you play really into majors? I mean, Swain historically had a good lane matchup when we gave him wave clear.
I mean, Lucian top.
No, does not have a good lane matchup. Rumble pushes anyone in, let alone Nady carry.
Still waiting to see what those picks are going to be. Oh, no way. They're not going to do that.
They could potentially.
Or are
do
they? Nah, they're not going to lock in the Graves. Instead, they go for the Gragas instead. That should be a top lane pick for Series. Now I'm not going to look at their side selection anymore. They're just trolling me.
Well, they certainly are, but we'll talk about the Gragas into Rumble. Gragas has the best wave clear out of the tanks at the moment. I mean, he doesn't have to expend much mana on it if you go W max, and he's able to get a lot of AoE, as well as the fact that if you do want to go triple door range, you can match it. And he puts out a lot of damage and disruption in team fights until you get to like 2 or 3 items and all the tanks fall off then you just become a big annoying body. So I think as far as it goes, their composition makes a lot of sense. They've got good pick potential coming out of Rengar and Ahri. I mean, they have really nice, scrappy, brawly team fights. And that is going to be the Zed.
Ooh. Final pickup for Avant Garde was Ahri heading into the mid lane, and Zed is the lock-in for Ryoma. Gonna take him on assassin on assassin.
And we gave these assassins, like when they were both released, these assassins were like seamless. You could dash 3 times in a row as Ahri. I mean, you could instant W on Zed. The matchup was honestly insane when we used to see it. Then we gave pauses to Ahri's dash first, and Zed started winning the lane. Then we gave pauses to Zed's dash, and the travel time of the shadow got longer. And now Ahri was winning. And then we nerfed them both and brought them back in line. This is a really close lane, to the point where if you hit a double Shuriken, you generally win it on Zed, and your laning phase is pretty good. But Ahri, if she ever gets you out of Fog of War, which is always the problem with Ahri players, talk about it a lot, but Fog of War becomes like your natural enemy on Summoner's Rift. She is just so elusive and can blow anyone up.
She certainly is. Ryoma and Triple, 2 very well-known assassin players. They love to go hard and heavy in the lane. We can expect a good fight coming out from the 2 of them in this match. I mean, it's Ivanka's Sin. It's a very good grudge match to have this assassin-on-assassin fight.
It certainly is. It's going to be fun. And I feel like we haven't talked about Triple as much as we were talking about him last year. And his play has kind of dropped off a little bit. Or you could just say that the mid laners in the OPL, I think it's very fair to say, have started to elevate their game. But I'm excited about this because Triple historically has been a very good assassin player. Ryoma was more of the control mage player, but has definitely shown us that he has changed his champion pool to implement those assassins. And so much of these teams historically has been built around, you know, formerly Rymeister, now Ryoma, as well as Triple going to the mid lane, and their jungler shadowing the lane in the 2v2. This is great.
And this is why we were so hyped when we saw that Sybil was coming into Avant Garde, because when Sybil was announced to be moving to Avant Garde, that's when Series was playing well. That's when we knew Triple was in the mid lane as well. And they're like, well, perfect. Their top side of map's great. They've got the Bash Bros in the bottom lane. Avant Garde are going to look like a really solid team. Have been a little bit shaky recently, though, so we'll have to see if they can refine their form in the first match here against Sin, a best-of-3 series and a preview to the Gauntlet. But for now, let's check in with Hingers, who's standing by with one of their coaches.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with the coach of AV, Pinch, and it looks like everyone's trying to play with their cards close to their chest today. So just broadly speaking then, what do you feel like your win conditions are with this team comp?
Sure. Well, with this comp, we really just want to get Rengar ahead. We picked Ahri knowing that they would pick Zed, so that's a really good matchup for Steven at the moment. We picked into that. We have a lot of dive with Ahri and Rengar in team fights, so yeah, that's our win condition.
All right. Well, let's see if that comes to pass. Best of luck in the game, and thank you for speaking to us.
Thank you.
What? One question, Hingers?
Well, as he said, they don't really want to talk about this matchup, and rightly so, just because they have to play it next week. And I like that. They're really confident in getting triple ahead. Of course, that's Steven, if everyone was wondering. They think that this is a good matchup for him. As I said, I don't know whether I necessarily agree. It's very snowbally, as Assassin on Assassin is. But you have to trust in your players. And if Triple wants to play this and you give him the best shot,
Yep.
we're going to actually see Sybil come out of Fog of War. And he's trying to time that ward. We'll see whether he got it exactly right. No, the ward's going to definitely still be up.
He's going to stay there for a while, but does get as delayed timing as possible and the vision coming out from Sin. Juice is started on his red buff, got some help from flares. And this bottom lane's an interesting talking point. Jake's taken Thunderlords, Blinky's gone for Fervor, whereas FBI's gone for Warlords, and Rose gone for Windspeaker's Blessing. So it's a poke against an all-in lane, you could say, with some poke from that Karma.
Yeah, definitely agree. I mean, especially given the fact that you got Thunderlords on Karma, the idea behind that is you get in with your W and the tether starts proccing. Although Blinky taking so much damage early is not going to be a good news story. And you really have to trade within your windows of the shield. That's as simple as it is. Jake needs to also make poke count in this lane.
Ah, that's nasty.
Yeah.
Good poke coming out from FBI.
There's a reason that good Caitlyn players are impossible to play against. And it's because, you know, if they layer skill shots as well as auto attack in.
Oh, he's going to be able to get a headshot there, FBI. Does take some damage in return, and he is only running a Duan's Blade here. Does have a Nami.
Yep.
Ebb and Flow will be able to keep it nice and topped up.
But this is the other thing you can do, is use Karma, especially if she's running Meditation, to just shove the wave over and over again. Certainly is a win condition to be able to look towards. That headshot was just at the end of the shield, so Blinky gets away with a little bit there. However, you can see that now the zone begins, which is dangerous because there is no Mantrid Q available to help that hit the turret. So Blinky in some big trouble, Fish.
Already burnt through all his potions, and Doran's Blade with a single potion still available for FBI in the bottom lane. But we do get a look at this mid lane here, Triple against Ryoma, both of them chugging through potions themselves. Ring start coming out of Triple, Blade start from Ryoma. But it is going to be pushing in favor of the Zed. A small CS lead for Triple.
Juve's actually in on the jungle for Sybil.
Almost catches him with a Cocoon.
I mean, he shot that one into the trees.
Almost catches him with a Cocoon.
But you can see that they do have good vision here. Actually, Sybil goes back and gets himself a control ward as well as the second jungle item. Doesn't really feel he can fight Juves at the moment, however, with Rumble cheating down early.
Double buff release as well.
Yeah, does let that go across. Blinky in huge trouble. I mean, he has to back now, and he's going to be really far behind in CS.
It's already down about 10 CS. That's stolen by Juves.
Juves is doing the Shern thing. He's just sitting in the jungle with Smite available. Now it's not available, but he has a level advantage. And bullying Sybil. And Sybil, for a couple of weeks in a row, has been turfed off the top side of the map.
And this is something you talked about in Champions League. Rumble pushes into anyone. So with Flares making sure Siri's underneath his turret, he's got the faster rotation.
Yeah, every single time. And you can see that Siri's made the call to go back to lane. He said, you don't really need your blue buff, which is correct. I mean, technically still, if he can get bottom side control with Scuttle, this is still not a bad early game for Sybil because he's had double Raptor camps. Like, he's 26 CS, so you can just see right now. The problem is that every one of his lane is kind of being bullied around, apart from that mid lane, where right now Triple has a huge CS advantage.
Yep, 39 to 29 is shoving a small wave in towards Ryoma's turret. Has used the final health potion, but Ryoma is out of potions as well. So, once they hit level 6, you could probably expect a fight from the two of them, but Juice is waiting in the wings. Perfect time to gank Ari is before level 6. He's going for it. Ryoma jumps in. That's a decent amount of damage. Flash forward. Cocoon's not going to land. Flash away from Triple. And now Ryoma being chased down. Jake gets over the wall and picks up first blood.
That's what I was talking about. The tether with Thunderlords. How much damage came out of Jake there with the pop as well as the ignite. Sure, that might put their bottom lane a little bit behind because it's frozen now and Blinky hasn't been able to get in. But with no pressure coming out of Ryoma at this stage of the game and no flash, there is now a huge target painted on his forehead for the Rengar, for the Ahri to be able to go to work.
FBI and Rogue doing what they can to hold on to the small lead they have in the bottom lane. They're about 10 CS up and have frozen a wave just off their turrets. See Pickaxe being picked up already against the Vamp Scepter from Blinky, who is trying to buy as many potions as he can possibly afford. Getting hurt. Missed the combo, but FBI still does decent amount of damage with his poke.
But now it's about staying topped off and just, you know, being able to farm into the obnoxious lane. No one really expects to win lane after like one shop against Caitlyn. It's when she goes into her Zeal items and starts falling a little bit further behind that you catch up with, you know, something like a really gold-efficient purchase of Blade of the Ruin King into Black Cleaver. Elise now coming over the wall.
Is spotted out by a ward, but flash bubble from Rogue, not going to connect. Tether coming out from Jake, Cocoon from Juves. They pick up a kill on the bottom lane, nice and easy.
So let's talk about why that's a great pathing gank out of Juves, because he knows that the ward's there, but he comes over the wall anyway. And you think that's a mistake. However, he knows that Jake Burt's double summoner spells in the mid lane, so they don't have enough damage to blow him up, even if he gets there earlier. And there's no way that he can flash Cocoon, can flash Bubble, especially given the fact that Exhaust went down. So really, perfect timing on the gank as they were pushing up. Wave reverses now. They should be able to deny a little bit of farm away from the Lucian. And that's all off the back of Juves' just really smart play.
Wow.
Especially rushing those Moby boots. Oh, okay, Ari's back, so that makes sense. I was going to say, Sybil, I don't really know whether you have to be scared of just a Moby's boots, Elise.
Yeah, and you can see Juves is able to get back up there in time, defend his blue buff against Sybil.
Well, that's what Moby boots do. They allow you to be in multiple places at once, not literally, but the movement speed just allows you to do that. However, your clear is significantly hampered, as you can see. Nearly dies against red buff pretty much. He was full health, and his slow is going to be much slower than what is, you know, the trackers into longsword.
He will use his time to go back to base, though, Juves. Pick up some more items for himself
But
after the back of the first
does this
blood.
cost him tempo? Because they know that he didn't go back into the bottom side of his jungle because they have it all warded up. Oh,
Good
serious.
dodge. Just throws out the ultimate.
He's maxing cast, so he is maxing the Q. Now he needs to be careful. Flares can drop the ultimate and flash on him if he
There
wants.
it is. Siri's got a flash away,
Flash
but
harpoon kills.
he decides not to go for it.
So Series overextends for that. Has gone Grasp with the Undying as well as the Barrel Max. And honestly, we'll have to burn Teleport to get back to this lane, you think, Fish? Because it's going to push him very quickly. Flares just pulls it. He's going to freeze.
Great, so let's go back and pick up a Spectre's Carl. Flares eventually decides not to recall and push out the lane instead.
Okay, I think that's a mistake out of Flares because I think that he could have denied more creeps by just holding the wave in a good position. Now all of a sudden, the Gragas knows that he's going to have to go back. And with Q-Max, you can actually push the wave very quickly. So interesting play out of Flares there.
Sybil is making his way into the bottom lane. Jake decides to cheat his way around and takes a few headshots to the face, but slowly this lane is equalizing for Blinky and Jake. Still 15 CS down, though. It's quite a tremendous CS deficit to be in.
I mean, still mid lane is closer to like 20-ish, depending on where the wave lands. So you would not be all that worried about it. Lucian, as I said, comes online way before Caitlyn, and that's what you're kind of banking on in the build. Defensive wards are plenty for Sin right now. They're actually trying to keep AV out of their jungle. Ooh, but they have access to the river.
Aggressive movements coming up from Blinky and Jake there. Trying to wait in the wings for Rogue and FBI to push up. But again, great harass from the Sin bottom lane. A little bit quiet on Summoner's Rift right now. Juves is farming on the top side of the map. We did have Sybil waiting in the wings in the river. So really, the only place that we can see some explosive action would be either this bottom lane or in the mid lane between two assassins.
Well, you're not going to see it bottom lane because blue buff has just respawned, and you know how important that is for Triple to continue to control this mid lane. So you want him to be able to farm up nicely. In fact, going for a recall now actually might forfeit that. And we know that Juves will be able to take advantage. He's shown how aggressive he wants to be. Potential first Rengar ult, actually going top lane, Fish.
We do have an Elise waiting nearby, though. We're looking to try and take away that blue buff. Again, Flares is cheating down. Looking to try and secure this one. Wards placed down by Sybil. But Sin just brute forced this blue buff. Take it away again.
But now, is there going to be a team fight? Equalizer back available. Flares actually just walks into top lane and might have thought that that ward came from Series, not from Sybil.
Sybil's waiting. Flares has to be careful.
He's sitting really nicely away from the brushes. They haven't seen Rengar for ages, so they must suspect something, although now he walks up.
Don't tell anyone.
I mean, that potentially was the only jump you're going to get.
Ooh. Is it? There we go. Sybil finds him. Gonna try and lock him down. Equalizer gets popped. Ultimate from series misses again. And Sybil, he's in trouble. Flair says, take him down, buddy. And in the mid lane, there's gonna be even more deaths as a dive goes on towards the Yari, but he pays for it with his life.
Huge play out of Flares in the top lane, however. That's exactly what you want out of your Rumble player. Sit in the wave and just turn around and burn people. And you can see this bottom lane has only hit turret twice.
Ouch.
Jake gets very far chunked out. Culling comes out in response. It's a lot of damage as well.
Yep, and gets a full combo on top of that.
Ooh.
Blinky very aggressive there.
Pink Ward goes down in lane for absolutely no reason. I think that was a little bit of a fat finger.
It's invisible. No one can see it. It's all right.
That's actually not true. As we check out what happened in the mid lane. Ooh, Juice flash forward, but ate the charm. And he comes down in the repel and actually, yep, falls, so that's fine. But meanwhile, in the bottom lane,
Yeah, there's a flash away. Son of the FBI, no heal. Gets taken down by Blinky, who just charges on forward.
and that's huge because we're talking about how this lane was a big winning point. Now Juice having down, but has been caught out by
Teleport.
Sybil. Teleport as well.
Yep.
Oh.
They're on top of a wall. They've got nowhere to go. Rogue is
Have
really
to go to the
low.
wall.
Blinky says, all right, if I'm going to die, at least take someone down with me. Rogue is going to be his target. Meanwhile, they've taken down his jungler. He's running towards the
He's
turret.
executed. Oh, he got him!
We'll be able to take him
Not
down.
worth the trade. The Nami turning around and hitting him means that it's a support picking up a kill for an AD carry. Just let him execute and live to fight another day. Instead, now you've burnt teleport. You've traded, I think, 3 for 2 across the board, is it? But that could have been arguably better for Sin. They will get first turret, however, which is huge for Flares. 3-0-0. He's really the guy that you're going to have to be dealing with.
He's already got a Lounge's Torment. It's going to be so difficult to deal with this Rumble, and there's a reason why he's banned out consistently in
And he just
competitive
picked
play.
up 650 gold by himself. I mean, that's massive.
Disaster. Oh, Ryoma going in. Triple going to miss the first half. Oh, both halves of the W there. Ultimate gets popped by Ryoma. Decides to back away on side of Jake.
How long on the E?
One more dash coming out of Triple there. Charm going to be dodged. Tether lands, but Avant decide not to go for any more damage.
I mean, they don't have any more damage, as now all of a sudden.
Sybil pops the ultimate, flares here, overheats, doesn't have enough mana. Sorry, doesn't have enough cooling?
Oh!
Oh, but Ryoma jumps in there, picks
Jake's
up
in
the kill.
trouble.
Gonna get locked down by Juice. Ryoma looking to try and dash on forward. Good repel. Coming out from Juice, down to half health. Still trying to fight this one out, but a charm comes through. And now Ryoma's in trouble as well. Triple's going to chase him down. Auto attacks, applying red buff, flash over the wall. Gets him back to safety.
Yeah, that's a bad mistake out of Juice. Should not have gone forward on that repel because you can see he made pay for that with his life. All of a sudden, you have a huge Ahri in the mid lane, as well as the ability to push out the turret. This game's been so back and forward. The shutdown onto Flares, that was big news. But I think bigger still was the fact that they got all of the gold onto Triple.
And now, gold is going to be equalized between Avant and Sin. Turrets 1-1, kills 7-7.
Oh, what a...
Yeah, going to get locked down by that charm. Series goes on forward. Ultimate pop. This time connects, not in a great position. And Flares drops his ultimate. Roma jumps in, picks up one from the shadows. Looking for Series next. It's a very tanky Dragon Stone without any support. Can't take him down.
Yeah, unfortunately, Series isn't having the best game. That cask was really sloppy. That should have knocked Flares straight back into Ryoma. Should have been a free kill. And then all of a sudden, if you were Ryoma... should have knocked Flares back. Should have been a free kill. And then if you're Ryoma, you have to doubt whether going for the trade is actually worthwhile. Instead, does not work out that way.
Yeah, unlucky he's not Soraka because he can call 0-0 right now because that's his score. Ryoma's going to continue pushing this mid lane. And no one in sight from Avant Garde to deal with this Zen at the moment. He's been able to catch up really well. Only 10 CS behind Triple. And looking for his first lethality item to be complete.
Yeah, so he just sits on the Hex Drinker. See whether he goes double MR items and goes for Edge of Night first, or whether it's just going to be a Youmu's. It's going to be a Youmu's. I'm not surprised there. Edge of Night was nerfed pretty consistently for a while.
They've caught someone out though. Sybil looking for a gank, finds a spider. FBI gets it with the ultimate. Jake trying to lock down Juice. Get a good amount of damage down. The spider lane looking for a touchdown play. Not going to happen. Red buff from FBI is slowing Blinky down over and over again. Will sidestep the Peacemaker. Wants to find another day.
Bottom lane Flares is also bullying out Series. So across the map right now, Sin is starting to get the edge. And Triple unfortunately can't be everywhere. Even with a completed item going into just making for the Caitlyn. Juves' presence has been enough to really bully around Sybil again.
Juves has really stepped up.
Yeah, Juves' play has been stellar in the second part of the season. Now going on triple here for Ryoma. Flares is in the wings.
Oh, holding onto the charm, misses it. Ryoma dashes on
dead.
forward. He is dead. Pop goes the Weasel. Jake just watches as his mid lane is going to get taken out. Flares, though, is being flanked by 3 members of Avant. Garde flashes over. Oh, you hate to see it.
He's going to get out scot-free. That's not good enough from Sybil. And Flares is laughing his head off. I mean, that's really poor play. He's a level behind Blinky, Jake, FBI, and Rogue right now. And one of the quickest junglers in the game. And, oh, it's just unfortunate.
I don't know what to say anymore. That fail flash was not pretty.
Yeah, it certainly wasn't. Now he face checks the jungle. He's actually going to die.
Yeah, so we are going to watch a replay here, but moving on back. Will be Sybil to get second down, having a horrible game.
I mean, he's just face checking the jungle over and over again. When you have a look at it, he's half of the team's kills. Oof. 1, 5, and 1.
Blade of Ruin King has been picked up by Blinky, so small spike for the Lucian. As well as that Spirit Visage picked up by Ceres. However, Sin, using the body advantage they have, pushed down the mid lane out to turret. Caitlyn looking for a nice and early Infinity Edge to go with her Zeal item of choice. She does have a power drop mid game, but when you're this far ahead, it doesn't feel like that.
I mean, he's ahead in gold and turrets, but hasn't really been able to pick up like a huge snowball victory. It's only 20 creeps. His team's only up 4,000 gold, so it's not the end of this game right now for AV. The problem is that Sybil is just having a really poor mid game. And when you farm up 20 CS versus an Elise, you should not be down 2 levels. I mean, that just shouldn't happen. And who do you actually send into the mid lane? Because you can, as you can see right now, they've taken Ignite, and Ryoma is just looking to pick people off.
We see that Sybil is 1,000 gold behind Juves in an entire level. So Juves' counter-jungling strategy, which we saw a lot from Schönfire, has been so effective, and he's been working with Schönfire.
But top lane is really the big gold advantage right now. 2,000 gold separates Flares from Ceres, and we've been pretty critical of Ceres' play. It definitely hasn't rotated down as much as we would have liked out of him, and I mean, just hasn't been able to fulfill the same kind of global presence that Flares had. Even had to burn Flasher in lane. So across the board, Sin out playing their opponent, with maybe the exception of mid lane.
We saw Flares on your screen briefly there. He's picked up an arm guard with a Negatron cloak, so picking up the components of his Zhonya's as well as Abyssal Scepter before completing one of them. With Merc Threads, it's a deceptively tanky Rumble. And Sin have really split up the map. They've got Flares split pushing. FBI needs to be a bit careful. Blinky's going to take so much damage. Sybil looking to try and get over the wall. Good tidal wave coming out for Rogue as well as a bubble to boot. Somehow both of them are still alive, and a teleport's coming in. Flash away from the cocoon. Sybil's underneath his own turret, sniped up, and the rest of Sin collapse. Ceres looking for an ultimate, knocks them all away, and he's getting turned on. Good bubble, equalizer, and Ryoma on top of that. He goes on a rampage, and Sin just collapsed onto Avant Garde.
I mean, I actually don't know what Ceres is doing there. He body slams forward without summoner spells available to ult an Elise in Spider form. I actually don't know what he's hoping to accomplish, and that punishes his team so much, Fish. They lose an extra kill where it should have only been 1 death. They can't defend the turret because they no longer have a tank there. And Sin are just running away with this game now.
Yep. That was chaotic of a fight. I mean, FBI and Rogue stood their ground, said we can take them both on. Fantastic tidal wave, cuts off Sybil's gank path. All around great play from the team, and multiple members of Avant Garde really not stepping up to the plate.
But just making unforced errors. I mean, both of them are unforced errors. You can say that teleport coming across to pick up Sybil, who's already 1-5, that's fine. But they go for a trade here, and you can see that Blinky just gets chunked out so early, can't do anything. That's a really nice tidal wave into bubble. They have to start backing away. And Sybil gets underneath the turret. I mean, he does everything he possibly can, falls down in the end to just too much damage. But this is the play that really costs them. Because I don't know what he's actually going for there. They don't have anyone that does damage sitting under the turret. Lucian's back in base. Ahri is in the mid lane still. So even if that cocoon that lands, he just goes into repel and like walks away. Really bizarre play out of Ceres.
And Sin try to steal red buff away, hiding in the shadows. Cocoon will not land onto Jake. looking to push for more objectives here. Top lane Inner was taken down. Bottom lane Inner seems to be the next target. As they continue split pushing, ultimate comes out from Triple. Flares is down here as well. Connects to the first harpoon. Forces the final ultimate from Triple. But just one harpoon does that much damage.
Yeah, exactly right. And you can see that across the board, they're just down in levels now. Don't even really want to go for a 3v2 in mid lane. In fact, they're just holding the Rengar in a side brush. Meanwhile, bottom lane is just getting shoved in relentlessly.
Yeah,
I mean, what can you actually do here?
Oh, Ryoma trying to dash in, gets hit by a charm. Civil will get ignited. Almost take it down. He does fall. Trade a 1-for-1 and a 2-on-1. My goodness, Ryoma is popping off.
Yeah, he certainly is. I mean, he's playing very well. But at the same time, they get both summoner spells out of him again. So potentially is room there for a punish. FBI and Rogue are just continually shoving into this lane fish and doing a very nice job of it. And so the CS lead is still growing. And this is where Caitlyn should be at her weakest. Not yet completed Infinity Edge. But Juice is just hovering the lane so well and making it impossible for any kind of aggression to be unanswered and to come out from the AD carry-in support duo.
And you've got a mid laner who's more than happy to go 2-on-1. Flares is happy to split push as well when his teleport's up. Seems like Avant have no avenue in this game to attack from.
Yeah, definitely agree. I mean, across the board, they've been pretty much outplayed role for role, which is starting to get really scary for the team because this isn't the first time we've said it. Their late game team fighting has always been great. But this time they had winning lanes and a winning jungler and they just weren't able to get it done. Credit to Sybil. He's caught up in levels, but he's still 1-7. So needs to be able to get something done. And he's got a longsword for himself. This isn't going to be like transform into Dead Man's Plate. Let's have a duo frontline. This is, I want to still be able to do my role of getting into the back line and, you know, being able to blow up FBI, being able to blow up Ryoma. But unfortunately, when you're this far behind, it's just not going to happen, buddy.
And he's diving into a backline against an exhaust, a Nami, and a heal from Caitlyn. The redemption as well is so difficult. Sybil's position is not an easy one at the moment. Dragon's coming up in the next 15 seconds. One elemental Drake was taken by Sin earlier, an Ocean Dragon.
I mean, it's not even like you can turn it into like an old school tanky, like bruiser build, like Sterex because of the way we changed that item. You can see that now fighting Blinky for farm. You hate to see it, but across the map, very disruptive. And Dragon will be the next main objective here. Because no one can stop flares, I think they just get it for free.
It's an Infernal Dragon as well. Great for Zed and Rumble. Even Caitlyn will benefit from that.
It's huge for Zed. Zed's W already gives him percentage AD. You know, you stack even more scaling on top of that. Potentially going for a pick onto flares here from Sybil. That's not going to work out.
Flares is waiting very patiently, and it seems like the rest of Sin are doing the exact same thing. Very patient gameplay for them. Very unlike them almost.
Sure. I mean, they're 5,500 gold up still. As I said, this game definitely isn't over. But Sin just incrementally getting their advantages, and now that they have a really firm grasp on their 1-3-1, looking to set that up. Juves has just shadowed this Caitlyn the whole time she's been weak and like massaged her into the game. And now Ceres and Sybil just can't take down either of the split pushing options.
But again, a lull in the match at the moment. Some of the spells are all coming back up soon. And that could be what the two teams are waiting for. Sinner, however, are slowly bleeding out of Vanguard by making sure they push up all three lanes. Don't go for any fights, but clear out the jungle and deny more resources away from Vanguard.
I mean, they really haven't done that because Sybil's still farming at a really good click. In fact, he's farming so well that even though he's died 7 times, he's equal in levels and now back up in CS. As that was actually one combo coming out of Triple with an ultimate. Nearly was able to blow up Juve.
Culling. Blinky forces a flash out of Juves, and now Sybil is looking to hunt him down. Tidal Wave will knock him up.
Teleport coming in, so that's a good news story.
Blasco does get them back to safety. Flares is looking for that teleport flank.
Now you can just send Ceres back top lane, and that is a win. Off the back of Triple, looking for a pick, and then a really nice culling coming across from Blinky, who has got himself 2 items going towards a third. Problem is, FBI at this stage is just so much stronger. And they're not going to face check that, I don't think.
Oh, AV waiting for them to try and collapse there. Interesting spells being thrown out.
Yeah,
now they might be collapsed on. Juves looking for it. They might have cut them off with these traps. They can try and push towards mid.
And they've got bottom lane as well. I mean, whilst all this is happening, Ryoma's just sitting bottom lane,
Flank
shoving
series.
in. Sure, but what do you lose for this? Because they can just run down.
They won't take down the turret just yet. Said they see the flank coming from series a mile away, and now Avant Garde left in a difficult spot. Do they rush mid? Do they rush Baron? Their base is being knocked on by the rest of Sin. This is probably going to be an inhibitor turret take it down.
Yeah, it certainly looks to be the case right now. I mean, Aura could be a fight because they've got Gragas flanking in behind one more time. But Inhib's going to fall, and they're not doing anything.
Inhibitor turret's down, triple down to half health as well. Sin pushing on forward. Series still looking for a flank, but the carries are half health. They snipe FBI, take him down. It's now a 4-on-5 with a Gragas in the back line. Series gets his body slam interrupted. Flair says, all right, we got to try and fight. Roman's getting into the back lines on top of Blinky. He's kiting the assassin backwards, so has to dash back into the shadows. But the Zonyas is going to be able to take down Jake. As Avant Garde slowly bleed out, they will still lose their inhibitor.
Yeah, and even though they pick FBI at the start of it with just a charm, they still lose out because Rogue's bubbles have been on point. Really nice play out of Flair, who is still just massive. And they break the base and actually extend their gold lead, even when it looks like finally AV got the pick they were looking for.
I mean, it was a charm onto FBI and took them down 100-0.
Yep.
That's a full member of Sin's team dead. They couldn't use that to advantage. 10,000 gold taken off the table. And that's not enough for Avant Garde to win a team fight.
Yeah, and it's just because the Equalizer is so potent. And I don't even know whether Sybil ulted in that fight. Just couldn't get himself into the back line. I mean, if he's the one zoning FBI, if instead they're looking to bubble him instead of the lone Gragas flanking, then that's why it's so important to, you know, be able to play the team comp in unison with everything else that's happening on the map. Right now, Blinky needs to run because there's a Z in the jungle.
There's a flash forward coming up from triple, or an ult forward, I should say. Flair's trying to get the heck out of there. Sped up by Rogue. They turn around. Sybil gets caught. Blown up. FBI gets the kill. Equalizer's going to get popped as well. Avant Garde have to just run away again.
And so many unforced errors. Sybil just ran onto a trap fish. I mean, it's as simple as that. There was a cupcake on top of a Yordle Snapchat, got a little bit hungry, and just gobbled it up.
He wanted the cupcake. I don't blame him.
It's going to be Baron. I mean, you have to blame him. At this stage of the game, 1-8. He's having a horrible performance.
If you want to fight this, Zed is waiting in the wings.
I mean, if they send the 80 carry that way, he dies.
Here comes Series trying to jump in. There is a jungler in the mix of this, so smite advantage for Sin. Take it down. Series is dead. Zed's already in the back lines. Gets a single kill for himself. Jake says, ah! Charm will come out. Ryoma does get taken down, so he does pay for it with his life. But still, big plays coming out from Sin.
I mean, Triple needs to do more. Triple needs to pick someone else here if it's going to work.
About that.
I mean, it's incredibly difficult, but unfortunately, when you're the only member ahead, you can't let them just push into your base.
League of Legends is a team game, this one.
Understand, not saying he's playing badly. I'm saying if they want to come back into this game, as we take a look at... See, they all dodge the traps, and then Blinky knows he has to dodge the traps, and unfortunately doesn't, and then just gets blown up by Roma.
You wanted the cupcake as well.
Yeah, everyone wants cupcakes. Unfortunately, they're not good for you, Fish. You got to count your calories. You're only allowed a certain amount of cupcakes a game.
None. Players has picked up his Zonia Hourglass as well as Abyssal Scepter, looking for a Void Staff. This is the next item.
And another Infernal Drake queuing up. Just the perfect dragon whilst you got Baron. No real way to push in at the moment. You just don't have your teleports in your 1-3-1 setup.
It's a very scary dragon spawn, all made Infernal.
No, he's fine. Look at you, he can handle it.
I mean, Juves is the spider. Spider trumps dragons every day.
Oh, of course. Well, it depends what kind of spider. We're
Any
talking
spider.
about what? A money spider?
Any spider.
Disagree. Strongly disagree.
FBI just attacks like a madman now. Ardent Sensor picked up by Rogue. On top of that, double Zeal item complete for FBI with, you know, a QSS for good measure.
Yep.
That's an Equalizer. Jake's going to step on a trap. Equalizer's on top of Sybil. He's dead. Spider's going to collapse. He's trying to use the ultimate to run away. Series is forced to body slam to stop him. Sybil tries to jump back in. Juves left wandering on his own. His team has abandoned the captain. The captain is overboard, but apparently the ship is still sailing. So they do get a pick on towards Blinky. Sin will take another inhibitor for themselves. Triple getting burnt alive. Zonya's going to stop the charm. Series is in trouble. FBI gets that kill. Sin now marching on towards the Nexus. 3 members left up for AV, but 4 members strong of Sin with that Baron buff will continue pushing. Second turret falls. Tidal Wave just going to knock Triple up. And the Nexus are now bare. FBI flashing forward, looking for an assassination. Can't quite get it. 90 caliber. That's not enough, but it's still going to be game 1 going over to Sin.
I mean, and what more can you really say? That game was so close on a knife's edge, and then just a series of unforced errors means that AV lose. I mean, running onto cupcakes, not matching teleports, bad lane assignments. AV did so much work to even just claw their way back in from a poor laning phase. And then, you know, you just can't afford to make those mistakes because Sin are a good enough team that they're going to punish you for it. I mean, you're in Rengar, you're invisible. You have nothing but controlling where your champion's going. And you do things like that. I mean, that's really disappointing if you're an AV fan because your team, I mean, they had a good team fight late game and it just all fell apart.
Yep, and it seems like Avant weren't able to, you know, coordinate those team fights properly. Series had a couple of flanks going for them in 4-on-5s and nothing just worked.
Yeah, and Series also, like, I mean, that body slam, like, out of underneath the turret. The weird cask, instead of disengaging and, you know, knocking the creeps away, going for an extended team fight when you don't even have an AD carry or a mid laner there. I mean, there are just so many questionable decisions right now coming out of that Avant-Garde lineup.
And AV looked really defeated after that match as well. You can see on their player cam, Sin very happy with that win, but it is a best-of-3 series. Let's throw it back to the analyst desk to check out what that game looked like to them.
Thank you, Fish, and thank you, Spawn. Well, joining me here at the analyst desk, we have T-Gun and also Mendrix. Sin up 1-0 so far in this series, and I want to take a look at this draft because, in particular, what stuck out to me was this Caitlyn into Lucian pick. If you're picking Lucian and they're picking Caitlyn, that's a winning lane for Caitlyn, right?
Yeah, and they blind picked the Lucian, if I remember correctly, which is a big no-no with Caitlyn available lately. Especially when you can go Kate Nami. That's a really, really aggressive and oppressive lane to play into. So, I mean, AV must have just been feeling really comfortable deciding to take Karma instead of Lulu. So that's obviously more of a comfort pick instead of just taking the most priority thing. And then they take Lucian blind and they just... It might be a bit of hubris. It might just be them thinking, you know what, we're better than you. We're going to try this.
And it doesn't just come down to that as well. I mean, Nami is also a counter into Karma as well. So we're looking at not just one counter, we're looking at double counters for that Sin draft. And that ended up looking really good there.
If you pick Lucian into Caitlyn, then is there a support matchup which makes the Lucian a good pick?
Not really.
Caitlyn's
just really good. Caitlyn's just really, really good as an ADC, especially in lane.
Right.
I want to touch back on they got the double counter and they looked really good late game, but in lane they looked a little shaky. Blinky got the kill onto FBI quite early, and I remember harping on about how FBI is just really consistent, really good ADC, and he looked a little shaky in lane, and I'm not sure what that was when they did get double counter pick, and just didn't look as impressive as I thought they would.
Well, I know that AV, for example, Pinch said that he was really keen on Ari being a good counter into Zed. I mean, Mendrix, talk me through that matchup. Like, why does Ari work so well against Zed?
So first off, she's ranged going into a melee matchup. So typically if Zed wants to farm, he actually needs to throw out those shurikens. He needs to be on point to make sure he can dodge the charms as well. And the big thing about it is when typically Zed wants to jump into you, his shadow always appears directly behind Ari. So if you're on point with Ari, you can immediately throw the charm behind you. That ends up blocking most of his death mark damage, and then you can follow up with your own combinations to really take him. Plus, she's quite mobile in her own right, so she has the ability to dodge most of the shurikens happening.
Let's talk about this. Before we move on, I want to talk about support because you are here. Nami, you were saying, is the classic counter into Karma, but they also could have picked Lulu. So why didn't they do that, do you think?
I think they just fell back on the chest. They just get the free counter pick.
Yeah.
And they want to do what they think is the best counter pick. I agree with them. I think Nami is a better counter pick to Karma than Lulu is because all you do is out to stay in the lane and you end up winning no matter what. So I think they just fell back into a comfortable setting. I still don't like that Lulu got through the whole draft.
Without getting better, yeah.
I think it's just, as you saw in the Chiefs game, they think it's pick ban. I think it's pick ban. And internationally, it's also reaching that sort of a setup. So to let it fall through, it might be them hiding picks, like you were saying before. It might be the mind game, or it might have just been AV picked something and Sin reacted.
Right, okay. Well, moving from the pick into the actual game, I know early on, AV were looking like they had some early game jitters, Mendrix. It wasn't just FBA on Sin. It was like across the board, AV not looking as confident as we've seen them maybe at the start of the split.
That's right, and with the first replay that we're looking at, it seems to just sort of be the storyboard for the game. So here's just, a typical 2v1 onto it, and Flares does a great job. He actually ends up popping off this game pretty much the entire way through, but he's able to get a 2v1, picks up a solo kill off the back of that. And Sybil ends up having a bad game pretty much from then on. And it's really, it's really hard for them to say because the jitters really was there. Series was having poor ultimates as well, bit questionable across the board. I think there were flashes that were missed. There was just a lot of mechanical errors happening. And it just comes down to it. Are the jitters starting to get to them?
Yeah, that was just an eye-popping play from Flares there. There's nothing more to say about it. It was a really, really good 2v1. And it sort of ties back in. We were talking about series being a little overhyped, and we were talking about the potential problems with AV being Sybil not meshing, and he looked a little shaky, especially in that gank, as well as all across the game.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's not take away anything from Flares, though, because that was, like you said, a really good play. And one of the things that Sin has been saying is, like, playing with Ryoma has allowed us to unlock Flares. And I'm not sure if it was specifically to that kind of play we just saw then, but overall, Flares is looking much stronger across the board.
And I agree with that, because the thing is that typically could you get to see Flares play the Rumble going into this matchup? I mean, big reason why that was able to be facilitated is you got a Z pick. That means you're able to run 2 APs, which is something that's comfortable for those two players, or at least Juves looked very comfortable on. You're able then to unlock the Rumble, and you still have some AD threat in the fact that you've got an assassin who is AD.
So one thing we've seen with Rumble particularly before is that Rumble is a lane bully, and it means that when you've got yourself pushed up against their tower, it opens yourself up to ganks, right? So what happened today in terms of Sybil attempting to gank that top lane, and why was Flares able to kind of like stay safe for a lot of the game?
It's really hard to pinpoint exactly what went wrong. It might have been Flares getting too much poke in the top lane before Sybil's getting there. It might have just been Sybil not getting there at the right times, not executing properly. It's a really hard thing to just sort of sit there and go, this is where it went wrong, because it's just a compounding issue. And once it goes wrong once, it can go wrong again and again and again, and there's not much you can do to stop it once a lane bully gets ahead.
And it does sometimes comes down to that spawn mentality. Sometimes you prefer to actually have those extra 6 minions than you would having a jungler coming through. And you could tell in those situations when Flares, as soon as he was level 6, he had the tools he needed to actually take that 2v1 situation. And it was, like you said, mind-blowing play. He was able to initiate that 2v1, even though it looked like he had the drop. He didn't even have the drop.
Well, moving forward, I know that AV were trying to make some plays, but Sin, just kind of kept moving around the Mendrix. I know there's another replay you want to pull up. So talk us through what is significant about this.
So at this point, there's been, I guess you could say, a bit of scrapping happening, a bit of too much happening. Sin are just doing their normal rotations around the map. They're speeding up the play, and AV try to respond. They try to make a move. As you can see, they use a number of ultimates into that to see if they can make it work. And really, they end up fumbling the whole engage. And Sin are saying, sweet, no worries. We've got a bit of an advantage here. Again, another questionable ultimate. I think Swan was saying this was, he tried to make an extended team fight happen, ended up paying the price for it. Morok Jeopardies end up falling in the end, and Sin just start running away with the game from that point on.
And Tegan, this is exactly what you were talking about before, right? You were saying, look, Sin, when they get these early advantages, they kind of push their advantages, and they're able to kind of eke them out and over time build them throughout the game.
Yeah, I think they're one of, if not the best team at just taking small advantages and just shoving them in your face.
Take that.
Just, it seems like once they get an advantage, they're not happy. They want more. They want more. They want more. And sometimes that bites them in the ass. Yeah. Sometimes they just sort of go too far and overstep. But they're one of the teams that is just aggressively looking to push the limit every single time they get anything. And it showed in that game. They didn't do really well early on, but once they started getting the advantages they got, the game just really got out of control really quickly for AV.
So then, Mendrix, quickly before we go to break then, do you think that AV need to stop Sin getting ahead early in the game in order to play from in front and to take the second game?
I think they just need to loosen up a little bit, because most of those advantages that they picked up over time were from, specifically getting those advantages were actually just mistakes from AV. So if they just clean that up, Sin won't get ahead, and then they'll be okay.
Just pick Lulu. Just pick Lulu.
Well, Sin are currently head a 1-0 over Avant Garde in this, our second match of your OPL Saturday, round 10. But do not go anywhere, because we'll be back with game 2 right after this.
Cocoon's not going to land. Flashback from Triple, and now Ryoma being chased down. Jake gets over the wall and picks up first blood. There we go. Sybil finds him. Gonna try and lock him down. Equalizer gets popped. Ultimate from series misses again. And Sybil, he's in trouble. Flair says, take him down, buddy. And in the mid lane, there's gonna be even more deaths. The dive goes on towards the Yari, but he pays for it with his last. Series looking for an ultimate, knocks them all away, and he's getting turned on. Good bubble. Equalizer and Ryoma on top of that. He goes on a rampage, and Sin just collapsed onto Avant. Sin pushing on forward. Series still looking for a flank. But the carries are half health. They snipe FBI, take him down. It's now 4-on-5 with a Gragas in the back line. Series gets his body slam interrupted. Flair says, all right, we got to try and fight. Roman's getting into the back lines on top of Blinky. He's kiting the assassin backwards, so has to dash back into the shadows. But the Zonyas is going to be able to take down Jake. As Avant slowly bleed out, they will still lose their inhibitor. It's sped up by Rogue. They turn around. Sybil gets caught. Blown up. FBI gets the kill. Equalizer's going to get popped as well. Avant has to just run away again. And the Nexus are now bare. FBI flashing forward, looking for an assassination. Can't quite get it. 90 caliber. That's not enough, but it's still going to be game one going over to Sin.
How could you betray us like this?
Because I could. Because I wanted to. It ain't about the money. It ain't all about the money.
With my dying breath, I offer my soul to thee. Lady of Vengeance, let justice be done.
Pledge accepted.
What are you?
We are the Spear of Vengeance. We come for you, Deceiver.
Not a chance.
Innocent blood stains your hands.
Open, damn you!
Your pockets over.